Oh, perfect.
All right. We are joined now by Canucks Assistant Equipment Manager, Brian Red Hamilton. Red, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to start off with a question from Brendan Batchelor. Go ahead, Batch.
Thank you. Hey, Red, thanks for doing this. First of all, just your reaction to the news that the woman has been found, it seems like, and you might get a chance to meet her tonight.
I'm thrilled. That's the whole reason the letter was written, was I wanted her to know. I knew because of her, but I really wanted her to know that her persistence and like everything she did was taken seriously. And I felt bad at the moment because I'm walking off the bench and she put her phone up to the glass, and on the phone it said, "The mole on the back of your neck is cancer." And it threw me off. So I kind of just shrugged and kept going. And so I felt, my initial response when I found out was I felt bad because I felt like I didn't really give her the time of day. Yeah, I'm excited that she knows because she needs to know.
And, just I'm sure there have been a lot of emotions for you going through all this, to have something like that happen somewhat out of the blue, and then for it to be serious and for it to be real. How have you been throughout the last couple of months here as this has progressed?
Yeah, it was, when she pointed it out, I had never seen it. It was on the back of my neck. I didn't even know it was there. So then when I started asking people, like doctors or with the team, they didn't like the looks of it either. So I got scared right off the hop. And I knew in the back of my mind, I knew she was right. So then it was just hoping for the best, which it was. It was malignant melanoma in situ, I think is exactly how you say it, which means it was only on the outer layer of my skin. It hadn't penetrated to the second layer of my skin. And that's because we caught it so early. It was relatively new. And, when the doc called me and he said, we got the biopsy and I'm going to diagnose you with cancer and I'm going to cure you with cancer, in the same phone call from that mole, it's a pretty surreal phone call. And then that's when I went full head with talking to our media group about trying to find this person to say thank you, but also make sure that she knows that she's a hero.
We'll move to Jay Janauer, Global.
Brian, Happy New Year. So great to hear that you're healthy. You have co-authored, I think, the story of the year, and what a great way to start out the year to hear that you're healthy. But I'll tell you, Red, the internet has come alive. The Facebook group, I mean, I don't know if you know, but her parents just mentioned on Facebook that their daughter has been accepted into multiple medical schools. She's napping right now, so she doesn't even know that the connection has been made because she worked overnight for a suicide prevention hotline. Brian, we all talk about being grateful, being thankful for things, and you said you felt bad because you kind of sloughed her off. How much did this young person change your life, Brian?
Well, Jay, she extended my life. I've got a wonderful family. I've got a wonderful daughter, and I just think she extended my life. She saved my life, and it's not she didn't take me out of a burning car like the big stories, but she took me out of a slow fire. And the words out of the doctor's mouth were, if I ignored that for 4 to 5 years, I wouldn't be here. So I didn't know it was there. She pointed it out. How she saw it boggles my mind. It wasn't very big. I wear a jacket. I wear a radio on the back of my jacket that hooks on so the cords are there. Like, she's a hero. She and her persistence. And I don't know, I wish she was sitting here so that you guys could talk to her about what a great human being she is.
Hey, Brian, you've been at this job an awfully long time, and you always get people banging on the glass for a stick or a puck. So I can understand the whole, hearing the banging and kind of letting it go. But I'll tell you, man, this is just quite the story. Are you even blown away by it?
Well, if you go back to that game, it was well documented that there were two people behind the game that they got into it with Garland. And so, he stared them down, and there was that whole thing. Those two guys were right behind John Sanderson and I. So I've been joking that, if two guys that want to go at us, and then you got a couple seats down, you got someone saving my life. So it's crazy.
All right, we have quite a few hands here, so we're going to limit it to one question per reporter. We'll go to Patrick Johnston, Post Media.
Red, great news. Can you just maybe walk us through a little bit of the timeline? You said you maybe didn't give her credit in the moment, but still obviously prompted you to action. Did you go and talk to the doctors right away, or did it take a couple days? How did that kind of sequence work?
So our game was on a Saturday. She got my attention. We flew home. We had been gone it was our longest trip of the year, I think. So we got home from Seattle. I got up on Sunday morning and I asked Jess, I said, hey, do I have a mole on the back of my neck? And she's like, yeah, you do. And it's like a weird shape. So then we played Tuesday night was our home opener, and our doctors attend all the games. So I asked Dr. Bovard, I said, hey, what do you think about this mole on the back of my neck? And he said, I don't like to play games with moles. I can cut it out, or we can have somebody cut it out if you're worried about the way it'll look. He goes, I'm not a professional. You'll have a little bit of a scar if I cut it out. And I'm like, well, if you think it should come out, I'm not worried about a scar. Let's get it out. So then on the he told me on Thursday our next game, he would bring the equipment to cut it out. So Thursday night, half an hour before our game, he cut it out and sent it in for the biopsy. And then we got the results from the biopsy. And then I made an appointment once I got the results to have a bigger piece taken out. And I've got the results from that, and that has come back negative for everything. So, and then it was after I knew what was going on with the mole that I talked to CMAC about trying to find this person.
We'll move to Janila Hamilton, CBC.
Hi, everyone. Red, so glad to hear that you are okay and everything has gone well thus far. I actually just spoke to Nadia, who is the woman who told you about the mole. She is awake and she is happy that you went and got it checked. What she's really looking forward to is possibly meeting you tonight, because she is heading to the game. What do you think your first kind of reaction? What do you think it's going to be like when you first meet her? What are you going to say?
Well, thank you. And then my mom wants her to know that she loves her. So I will let her know my message from my mom. I will thank her for being persistent. Like, she really went over the top to get my attention. It's not easy. As it was said earlier, there's a lot going on in the, people are asking for things, or people are saying things that you don't like, you just want to get off the bench. And she was so persistent. And I want her to know that, like, if I do get the opportunity to meet her tonight, which I really hope I do, I want her to know that her persistence was, what saved my life. And obviously I want to say thank you.
We'll go to Thomas Drance, The Athletic.
Hey, Red, lovely story. Glad to hear you're well. Just want to follow up on the persistence note, which you've brought up a couple times. Can you just walk us through, with as much detail as you're comfortable sharing, how exactly she went about getting your attention that night?
So at the end of the periods, there's iPads on the bench and there's extra gloves on the bench. So at the end of the periods, John Sanderson and I will move the forwards iPads to the defensive end, because they switch ends of the bench. So there's maybe 2 or 3 walking back and forth at the end of each period where we move the gloves or the steel for the extra steel. And so I go up and down the bench maybe twice, and I put down the steel or the gloves or whatever I had in my hand, and I turned around and she was right against the glass, and she had her phone pressed up against the glass. And the thing that really registered in my mind is it wasn't like on a text, or she had gone to a more effort to make the font bigger and colorful, so it would get my attention. And so I saw the message, but like I said, like I looked at her and I was like, okay. And then I just kept walking. And then I'm sure if there's footage as I'm walking down the bench, like I'm rubbing the back of my neck because I'm like I didn't even know. So that's how I found out.
Ben Kuzma, Post Media.
Hey, Red, what a remarkable story. I have one for you. We always talk about health being wealth, and we always want to make sure we always get our regular tests and screenings and things of that nature. I'm just wondering, Red, with your position with the hockey club, you're very well known in the city and certainly in the sporting community. Have you thought about sort of paying this thing forward, Red, and maybe being an advocate for cancer screening or anything of that nature? Have you thought about that?
Well, and yeah, like that's the letter. That's, the letter is about finding this hero, but the letter is also about, how many people are reading that letter today and going, holy cow, this guy didn't even know. And the doctor told him he's 5 years from not being here. So that's where, the letter wasn't cryptic. It was straight up. This hero noticed a mole on my neck, and all of a sudden she's right. It's malignant melanoma, and I get it removed. So when you read this story, or when you read the letter, or when you hear the story, there's how many people. The one thing I've learned through this whole thing is you get them on the bottoms of your feet, you get them behind your ear. No, it's sneaky. You don't know you have it. You don't pay attention to it. I didn't. I'm a fair-skinned redhead. I probably should have paid more attention to it. Yeah. So if I can help save someone else's life, absolutely, I would do it in a second. And that was part of the letter, the reason behind the letter.
Amazing. We're going to take two more here. Next up, Jeff Patterson, North Beach Agency.
Hey, Red. Look, everybody else, good to talk to you. And it's an amazing story. Happy New Year. Look, you've been at this for a while. You've probably had some favorite rinks already around the National Hockey League. I just wonder, does Climate Pledge go to the top of the list? And when you walk back in there this morning, like, did all of this sort of, play out? And did you relive the moment as you walk back into the building?
Yeah, it did. When I went back out on the bench, I got a little emotional looking at the glass and trying to figure out exactly where she was on the glass. But yeah, no, that Climate Pledge is definitely my favorite. It's also close to home, so that helps. But it was crazy because we flew down this morning and we're unpacking, and the letter came out, and so it was a little bit. But this is a huge thank you to everybody out there. I've tried to keep up with what happened this morning, but with us landing and practicing right away, I can't just the biggest thank you to the Twitterverse, the Instagramverse, the social media world. I can't thank you guys enough for forwarding it and getting it out there. By the time we got to the arena, just as we were pulling in, it got posted. By the time we got the stuff off the truck and the locker room set up, I had found out she had been found. So yes, the 2 times I've been to Climate Pledge, it's definitely on the top of the list of being my favorite arena now.
We'll go to Joey Kenward, Sportsnet 650.
Hey, Red, good to see you. I think you're into your 20th year now with the Vancouver Canucks organization, being a part of the National Hockey League. The newest franchise in the league has also played a very valuable role for you. What do you say to the overall hockey community on a day like today? Because a lot of people think it's a big community, and it is, but in many respects, when you hear something like this, it's a pretty small family.
Yeah, and that's what, I kind of touched on with Jeff's question, was the thank you of this community. When practice started, I opened up my Twitter and I scrolled up, and I see a tweet from Debbie Butt and the words she said, and I had to just shut my phone off because it's emotional. When you see people whose paths you've crossed and the things they say and the effort that was given by people from across Canada today, whether it was national media, local media in other cities. You know, I'm getting text messages like, "Oh, you've been posted here," or "the story's there." It's remarkable, and I'm happy that story's there, but not for me, but for her, because the world needs to know that she's this woman exists. She's a hero, and you know, we need to celebrate her and people like her that take the time to do things like this and save lives, even though they as all this is happening, she was sleeping and didn't even know she was saving my life. So.
Okay, we have one final question from Thomas Strantz, The Athletic.
Red, I just want to know, because, you know, the nature of equipment managers, support staffers, is it tends to be to shun any kind of recognition in the limelight. In terms of telling your story today, was it mostly about being in Seattle? Like, what went into putting the message out and the timing of it today?
The timing of today was, we're back in Seattle. Hopefully we can find her. When I talked to CMAC about this, I didn't, like I said, I understand I'm a part of the story, but she needs to know she's the story. She's the person that did this. She saved the life. She doesn't know, like, she needs to know her efforts were valid and bang on, and the reaction of her efforts resulted in this coming off or out of my body. And you know, imagine if you're walking around and you've saved a life, but you have no idea you saved a life. Like, I would want to know, and I want her to know, and I want to say thank you to her. So obviously it made sense with us coming back to Seattle. It also, part of the timing was, I wanted to know exactly what was going on with me before I thanked her, or before I went out there. I wanted to have all the facts as to what was going on with me and my health and where I was at. So it took a little while to get the results and to get a second procedure. And I was hoping that by the time we came back to Climate Pledge here in Seattle, I could have the full story for her.